Imagine you're standing on the docks of a major international port. A crane is hoisting a custom $5 million piece of industrial machinery high into the air. Suddenly, a cable snaps. The massive steel crate plummets, smashing into the water below. When the bubbles clear and that machinery settles onto the ocean floor, a massive financial question remains. Who actually pays for this disaster? Is it the seller back in India who built the machine, or the buyer in the United States who ordered it? With trillions of dollars moving across the oceans every year, businesses can't rely on simple handshake agreements or assumptions. If they did, a drop like this would trigger a decade of international lawsuits. They need a rigid, universally agreed-upon set of rules to deal with destroyed goods. To solve this exact portside disaster scenario, the shipping industry uses a specific codified legal framework. In this case, it's a three-letter term called FOB, which stands for Free On Board. FOB dictates the exact second liability shifts from one party to another. It draws an invisible line that determines which company walks away safely and which one takes a multi-million-dollar hit. To see how this works, we have to rewind the clock and start at the very beginning of the supply chain, the seller's factory. This is where the liability clock first starts ticking. Long before a ship is involved, the seller has a heavy checklist. They have to manufacture the goods, package them securely for a rough ocean voyage, and load them onto a local truck. Then comes the first major legal hurdle. The seller is completely responsible for clearing export customs. They must pay the fees and file the paperwork required to legally let those goods leave their home country. This diagram illustrates a standard FOB agreement, mapping out the responsibilities of both parties. Everything we've covered so far falls into this blue section on the left, defining this entire preliminary phase as the seller's risk zone. During this overland journey, if the delivery truck crashes on the highway or customs seizes the cargo at the border, the buyer pays absolutely nothing. The seller bears 100% of the financial risk. But eventually, that cargo reaches the chaotic environment of the shipping port, and this is exactly where the balance of power shifts. The transfer of responsibility comes down to a highly specific physical action. The shift happens the exact second the cargo is lowered by the crane and rests securely on board the vessel. Looking back at our graphic, you can see this identified in the central red circle. This is the key risk transfer point. That vertical dotted line represents an instant total transfer of liability from the seller to the buyer. This rule perfectly resolves our opening mystery. Because our $5 million machine dropped while it was still suspended over the dock, before it touched the ship, the seller takes the total loss. However, if that same crate touches the deck, the hooks are released and a sudden wave causes it to roll off the side into the sea, the buyer is completely on the hook for the damage. A single physical point of placement on a ship's deck acts as an unyielding legal firewall between two nations' businesses. Once the cargo is securely on board, the ship sounds its horn and sets sail. From this point forward, the cargo's survival is entirely the buyer's problem. Moving to the right side of the chart, you can see the buyer assumes a massive logistical burden. They pay for sea freight, insure against storms, and manage unloading once the vessel arrives. The work doesn't stop at the docks. The buyer must navigate their own country's import customs, pay any required duties, and arrange for final local delivery to their warehouse. Because this handoff seems straightforward, companies make a massive mistake, applying FOB to air or rail journeys. But international law dictates otherwise. FOB is exclusively for maritime use. It legally requires a ship and a port. It is a highly specialized tool built for ocean freight. By drawing one undeniable line on a ship's deck, FOB keeps trillions of dollars in global maritime trade moving every single day.